Welcome back to opinionsaretefree.com. It's a site where you can leave your opinion on one of many topics, and you don't necessarily have to agree with the person who leaves an opinion, but you're not there to criticize them either. You're there to leave your opinion, and I'd like to know what people think about topics, not what they think about the poster before them. That's maybe more argumentative than it is conversation, and we're trying to promote conversation about important topics rather than argumentation or simple, bitching. So it's easy. Just get onto opinionsaretefree.com and pick a topic. You can watch the video if you want, which is usually me rambling away about something, or read the preamble, and then you can leave your opinion on that particular topic. When you do so, please leave your name and your location. You don't have to leave your full name, nothing that identifies you or where you're located, just the first name and the rough location. So if you're Wendy from Wichita, Mary from Manitoba, Guido from Goose Bay or Guam, that's fine with me. So I want to talk about the situation in Ukraine. It's a terrible war. Like all wars are terrible because typically they involve the wrong people getting hurt. What I mean by the wrong people is I'm talking about civilians, and I'm talking about children that have absolutely no interest in having wars and killing anyone. The aged, and I'm going to give you a very controversial comment here about people who are older. Yes, they're fragile, but at the same time, keep in mind that when older people were younger, they might have been sowing the seeds to this situation that is at hand. So you can't always just ignore the fact that stuff could have happened in the past, and just because someone's old and fragile doesn't necessarily mean that they're innocent of anything. A few months ago, as you recall, the Canadian Parliament stood up and cheered on an individual for their fight in the Ukraine during the Second World War. Then it was discovered that the individual was a Nazi. So here the Canadian Parliament is celebrating a Nazi because no one did their homework, and politicians, as usual, were more interested in patting themselves on the back and seen doing nice things than actually doing their homework, and it's unfortunate. But let's get back on topic for a second. The G7, or the West, roughly has $300 billion that belong to Russian interests, and they're holding that, freezing it in a sense as a punishment for this situation, what they call an illegal occupation of Ukraine. And I'm not going to split hairs about what you want to call this. But that $300 billion is making a lot of money for a lot of people in the West. Keep in mind that whenever money exchanges hands, a fee is going to be attached to whether it's a bank fee, a permit fee, a clearing fee of some type, an exchange fee, a legal fee, an administration fee, a bureaucratic fee, whatever you want to call them. There's always a fee, and somebody's making a lot of money here. So you have $300 billion. Now, there's talk about transferring $50 billion to Ukraine, whether it's for so-called reparations or whether it's for maintaining the fight against Russian forces, which means that the money that goes to the Ukraine will then be going back to buy weapons from the same people who are giving the money to the Ukraine. So, you have to be suspicious of the money flow. And the rest of the money is probably going to be slated towards reparation and rebuilding after this conflict ends, and eventually it will end. But there are two things that I think have to happen before this conflict will end. The first is that the money will have to be exhausted to the point where there's no more money to be made from it, and then it can be transferred as a credit towards Ukraine in their desire to rebuild the country and rebuild the infrastructure and repair all of that terrible damage. But will it be just simply given to Ukraine, or will it be administered by Western interest? And that brings up the second point, is that this will only happen after the contracts for reconstruction have already been put in place. Otherwise, it's quite possible that the money will not be used properly. And I'm not accusing Ukraine of anything. I'm just saying that somehow it's going to be filtered away. So, I would love to see a really good forensic accountant find the money trail and to figure out where this money is going, how it's being used, and who is making money off of this money. Which Western interests are making a profit here, and they'll call it whatever they want, but it's still profit. So two things: the money has to be exhausted, and when it's exhausted, then the reconstruction contracts have to be put in place, and then the money can be transferred. But I can expect that the reconstruction efforts will be managed, supervised by Western interests, because specifically of the damage to the infrastructure in Ukraine and the ability for Ukrainians to rebuild without Western support. So as they were supported in the fight, they will also be supported with the rebuild, but the rebuild will be managed by the West, or someone in the West, or some interest. And I think BlackRock has already put their feet and fingers into everything. That's what I think. In any case, you may have a different opinion, and if you do, please leave it. And keep in mind, I am not taking sides here. I'm not saying I'm pro-Russian or pro-Ukraine or anti-Russian or anti-Ukraine. I'm pro-peace, and I would love to see this situation be resolved, and it will be resolved. And it's resolved, both sides will try to claim victory, whether it's victory by the West that says that they fought Russian aggression, or whether it's a victory by the Russians saying that they fought NATO aggression. We'll see what happens, but there will be eventually peace. And until then, though, the money is going to flow, and really we have to look at where the money is going and who's profiting from this terrible war. As we know, all wars are both dirty and highly profitable. Opinionsarefree.com. Leave your opinion. If you don't agree, that's fine. If you agree, that's fine as well. I don't care. Just leave your opinion. Thanks. Bye.